Welcome to the In Cobb We Trust podcast. And today I'm interviewing my friend, Sheriff Craig Owens. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to get right into it.
Let's do it.
I would like people to understand what kind of sheriff we have in Cobb County, because it's been different since pre-2020.
Right.
We had a different sheriff. You got elected in 2020, reelected in 2024. Right. Can you tell the folks where you grew up?
Well, and this is going to sound very strange. I'm from a little small country town in North Carolina called Fayetteville. You might have heard of it because of Fort Bragg. And that is home of the 82nd Airborne, which is in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm from. I'm from a military back type family. And I was born and raised there up until I was about 12 years old until we moved here to Atlanta.
So since 12 years old, moved here. Where around Atlanta?
I moved into the city of Atlanta, actually. The street is no longer there. It has been renamed. The street is there, but it's been renamed. It used to be called Bankhead Highway, but now it's called James
Hollowell Parkway.
And all that. Yeah. So I lived off the old Bankhead Highway area in Northwest Atlanta. So that's what I was doing.
You're married?
I'm married to my high school sweetheart.
Really? I didn't know that.
And she was in the 10th grade, and I was going to the 9th, 10th grade time frame. Went to high school together, and I went to college at Morris Brown, and she went to West Georgia.
Okay.
And then I left college after 1 year playing football, and I went into the military. And my wife stayed in school and got her degree, and I got my degree a little later on.
Okay. You said football. Running back?
Running back, a little bit of cornerback, but in high school, basically running back.
Okay. And then you have kids?
Yes. I like to say this in such a nice way. I have 3 grown and gone kids. But they have blessed me with 6 grandkids, so I'm blessed to have.
Oh, grandfather.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And then you spent time in the military. Tell me about that.
So I did. You got your facts on. You on point with your facts today. So I did 36 years total in the United States Army. That's combined Army, the active duty and the reserve time frame. I retired as one of the highest ranks you can as enlisted, as a command sergeant major at a 2-star level. And I can tell you everybody this, I've been in uniform my whole life. It's either been in the military or a police department and or sheriff. So I know nothing but service. I've been doing service my whole life. And that's kind of really why I'm here today and what I've been doing for pretty much my whole life.
And you may not know this about me, but I did my fellowship training at the VA in West Los Angeles.
All right.
And so veterans are the ones that taught me how to take care of dying people. And I shared this story previously. I'll share it with you that anytime that somebody comes in the hospital, we have to say, hey, this is a something-year-old gentleman with this history. But if they're a veteran, I put, this is a 56-year-old veteran with the capital V.
Oh, wow.
And that's something that was instilled in me from the VA.
That's good stuff.
And I wonder, you're in law enforcement now. You're in the Army. What are maybe the top takeaways from all that time in uniform?
Well, I learned a lot from both. I think the military really shaped me into the man I am. It really taught me about discipline. And going into military at a young age really, and it got me on the right path. Also playing football helped out too, because, you play football, you have to be disciplined, be practices on time, and do exactly what the coach is telling you. It really prepared me for going into the military. And then once I got into the police department, it was just a natural field because most police departments are, semi-paramilitary in format, how they ran. And so I just fell right into that. And then, of course, had a great career at the Cobb County Police Department. And I left there, became sheriff, and then just kind of just rolled right into it. That paramilitary type organization, it just fitted me to the T.
And what makes someone want to run for sheriff?
People ask me that all the time, and I'll tell you this story if you give me a few
minutes. You got all the time.
So I was a major at the police department in Precinct 2 down in South Cobb. And, and I was at the time, I'm getting close, I could retire. I said, what do I want to do? Do I want to continue to maybe stay at the police department? Do you want to try to be a chief somewhere? What is it I want to accomplish going forward? I think I've done some great things at the police department. I was thinking, well, maybe I want to be a chief somewhere. And so one day, I had some great constituents down in South Cobb. I was just always, for the last 20 plus years, been working in the community there. So I was very well known by a lot of individuals. But one of my best constituents, and he'll probably turn a little red and telling us, was former Governor Roy Barnes. and I worked in his precinct. I was his precinct commander, and he'll everybody know that's my precinct commander over there. So one day we were just talking, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do when I retire, or if I retire." And he says, "Well, and you have to know Governor Barnes." He said, "Well, fella, let me come talk to you about something." And so I sat down, and he said, "You ever thought about running for sheriff?" I said, "Well, sir, I have not thought about that. I was envisioning maybe doing, applying for some chief jobs. Since now I'm got all my education, all my experience down, and may apply for chief." He said, "Well, I think you ought to think about being sheriff." And then he gave me some reasons why he thought I would be a good sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked, "Well, you've worked in the community for the last 20 plus years. Everybody knows you. I think it's the right time for a change in the county. And I think you the one can be that change agent we're looking for. You're well respected. You my shit. I mean, you my major. And so I'll back you 110%. So with that backing, then he just started really mentoring me about getting into politics, how the sheriff's works and things they do. For several months, he was telling me, this is how this works, this is how that works. And coming from the governor, that's keen insight.
Mm-hmm.
And from being a governor, he can take his time to tell you about what sheriffs does. And he was on point. So that really got me into the mode of want to be a sheriff. And then when finally straw was, he said, "Well, go home and talk to your family and see what they say. And then come back and tell me you already made a decision tomorrow that you're going to run for sure." So I had a great mentor. He really got me over the hump of me, staying on the fence about it. And then with his support and his backing, I think he really.
Because I imagine, like, when you're going from making that jump, it's a big difference.
It is.
Right?
Huge difference, and then you're learning a lot about the sheriff's office versus the police department. So I had a little advantage as well. In the military, I was in the MPs, and I had opportunity to work.
Wait, what is that? What?
Military police.
Okay.
So I had opportunity to work, corrections fields in the military. So, we was in charge of Guantanamo Bay. So we did work there.
Oh, okay.
We had a lot of military prisoners that we were responsible for. So I had some correctional type work at the boss level. So I had a real good understanding of how it works and how things work. It's just in the military format and then versus civilian, but a lot of that's parallels and equal. So that was a good transition for me to make. It wasn't that difficult. What I had a problem with, and I admit it to the day, was the political side. Because I'm a worker and not so much, as they say, a politician. I feel, I want to get out here and get the work done, and I don't do a lot of politicking. So I had to learn that side. That was the most difficult for me, to be that politician. And I've been, I'm a still work in progress, because I'm a worker first. I'm out here trying to get the job done and complete the mission that's assigned to us. So that's always my top priority, to get that done. And then I always work on that political side.
And for those that are watching, listening, how would you define the mission of the Cobb Sheriff or the Cobb County Police Department, rather?
Well, he's mostly all law enforcement. All the missions are pretty the same: protect and serve the citizens that you're here to protect. And that's it. Just protect and serve the citizens, and that's our first and foremost mission. Okay. You don't find many people outside this profession that's willing to give their life for somebody they don't know. Or when when you hear gunfire, we're running toward it while people are running from it.
Right.
So it takes a different type of person to do this job, in my opinion, who is willing to lay down everything for somebody they don't even know. And so that's that selfless service. And I think you got to have that to get this profession. So again, like I said, I picked it up a long time ago in a younger age, that being in a uniform, whether it's police department, sheriff, or military, I was built for this selfless service type atmosphere. And I've been doing that pretty much my whole life.
And how do we think about, what is a typical day like for you? Like when you get to work, what do you do? Because like nobody, even I'm like, I don't know what the sheriff does. I know he does something.
It's not, here's the interesting thing. It's not the same thing every day. Okay. So my days are always different, which makes it good for me because I'm not doing the same thing. I do a few things like email, texting, but other thing else, meetings, going out and seeing people in the community, walking through our facility, looking at, talking to our different detainees / inmates, and then meeting constituents, senators, legislators, governors, and things of that nature on the political side. So it's always something different. Community meetings, It's just all
putting out fires.
Well, that's just a given. we're gonna have probably 5 or 10 emergency calls that day or something going on.
Okay.
But that's the kind of normal thing that we do in the sheriff's office and even in the police departments as well. It's something always continuously happen, which will keep you, busy and makes your day go by fast. But we just, I love it. I love it. It keeps the adrenaline going. It keeps blood pumping well, and we just push through it every day. So it's something different.
And let me kind of transition to some, sometimes difficult topics.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone can recognize the need for law enforcement, the need for police. When you need help, you want them to be there right away. But there's the other side of it where sometimes people feel as though, and I've been privy to, where officers don't ever treat everyone with the same amount of respect that would maybe treat somebody else.
Right.
And you came into a Cobb County Sheriff's Department or police department that had its own reputation prior to that. And so how should we think about how the sheriff's job in terms of evolving the department going forward?
Yeah. So, and I can just tell you about how I envisioned it when I became the sheriff for the first term. I knew I wanted to change the culture of our agency. And so, and that's me coming from a military background and from the police department, is really creating good order and discipline.
Okay.
And I think as you create that good order and discipline, your organization tends to run a lot smoother and with efficiency. So I had to change the culture and then get that good order and discipline, I think, in there. But the biggest thing for us was increasing our training. And we were lacking in a lot of training. So in our first couple of years, we invested heavily in training.
What kind of training?
We went to de-escalation training, physical training. We took different classes to expand to a secondary education to obtain more degrees for our rated officers so they can be more educated. Management classes, supervisors classes, regular law enforcement classes from advanced from intermediate all the way up to advanced courses. So we just enhanced our whole training platform because it wasn't where I thought it needed to be a professional agency. As we increase our professional training, which makes us more of a professional agency, and then we need to be accredited. We were not accredited, so we went out and seek and was able to obtain, which I say phenomenal work. In 3 years, we became an accredited Triple Crown agency. We were the only one in the state of Georgia awarded that year, Triple Crown. That's when you're for sheriff's office. That's the highest you can get.
Yeah, like what do you have to do to get that?
So we got rated in our healthcare from our detention center.
Okay.
Our mental health care, our administrative portion, and our field operations. So all aspect of our law enforcement, we got certified and accredited in. And then we're one of 2 agencies in the state that has mental health care accreditation. So we really want to show my constituents of Cobb County that your sheriff's office is a professional accredited agency now. And we're currently working on another certification we just recently started, is the state of Georgia created a sheriff's office accreditation. So we're working on achieving that now. So we'll be accredited in the state. It's the first time it just started.
Wow,
so
I didn't know that.
We're going to be accredited in the state of Georgia. Police departments already had that. The sheriff's offices never did. So now the sheriff's office has a state accreditation, which we'll have probably within the next 3 months. So we'll continue to try to work hard on our training to prevent that professional deputy. And I think that's what we want to present, and we want them to act as professionals. And that's anywhere from their attitude, from their dress, how they talk and deal with our constituents here is very important. And what I'm talking about, I guess another important element is this: we have to know when we don't do right or we're doing wrong. And when I like my constituents, hey, Sheriff, your deputy didn't do this or he did that. And of course, tell them when they do something good as well. But tell us when we do something bad so we can try to correct the problem and fix it and get them back on the right track.
So what I'm hearing is you recognize that, and I think we all recognize that we're all human and therefore we're not perfect.
That's correct.
And a way to achieve a more perfect sheriff's department, police officer, professional conduct is that you want the citizens to provide feedback, positive and negative,
Yes.
so that you are aware and can take remedial action.
Right. And so that's the only way we're really going to know how good a job we're doing. We got to have positive and negative feedback. Because I admit, like you said earlier, no one's perfect. This agency is not 110% perfect.
Mhm.
I want to be there. But the only way I can get to be close to perfect is you telling me what my faults are. So I can go in and see what's going on. How can I fix it? Is it an attitude adjustment? Or it is a position change? Or is it a promotion? Or is it a demotion? What I need to do to fix these issues we're having to give the citizens of Cobb County the best law enforcement service we can provide.
And, in my experiences with different parts of the sheriff's department, I mean, you find really phenomenal officers, right? That will treat you with respect. They'll look you in the eye. They won't talk down to you. That will communicate very respectfully. And then sometimes not. And I think sometimes not always you remember those more.
That's the one if you remember, right?
Because, like in the hospital, like, yeah, people are upset and they'll maybe sometimes talk to you a certain way, and you kind of keep your composure, call them sir, ma'am, please, all those things. And what I'm hearing from you is you expect that too.
Oh, absolutely. I think in my profession, you really got to know who you're dealing with. And as I use this term, like a doctor, you got to know who your client is, right? You know who your patient is. Once you want to make your initial observation, you kind of know which way you kind of go with him or her. Same thing with us. We got to really observe who we're dealing with, and then take some of what they're saying into, and conceptualize what they're saying, and you kind of tell you how to deal with them. A lot of times, what we do is all about verbal communication. And so if you can talk, I tell you, I've talked my way out of so many things that could have got bad by just being able to listen, communicate in a calm manner,
right,
and bring them down and not make them escalate, when they should be de-escalating. By having that good verbal communication, we used to call it a long time ago, having that good verbal judo.
That's what I do. Yeah, verbal jujitsu.
Yeah, and bring it down, and then and you can calm someone down from a bad situation. But again, like you were saying, we're going to have a few officers and or deputies who just take it in the wrong direction and escalate it when they should be de-escalating because they get too emotional into that situation. And then, trust me, it can happen. Then you got to try to regroup and take a breath. Okay, calm down. Bring this back down. Don't let them take you up here. You got to bring everybody back down.
You use that word emotional because I think about that. I think about what would it be like to have to put your life on the line every day, right? And I don't have that experience in the hospital. My life is not on the line.
You're saving lives there,
or helping them, exit gracefully. But
exactly.
So I give that. It weighs on me because what would it be like to be that person? And at the same time, I was a neuroscience major in undergrad. So, there's the cerebral cortex, and then there's the midbrain, and then there's the emotional center, the amygdala, the flight, the fear response. And sometimes it feels like sometimes officers are scared. Well, they're human, number one. But usually you don't make the best decisions out of fear all the time. And how do you think about that? Like because I'm sure, you live it.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Fear is a good thing in this profession. You cannot get so arrogant and cocky that you are not afraid of anything, and then you really lose sight of what you should be doing. Because that fear will make you result back on your training. And so when you get too confident, you lose that training aspect, and then it's doing something off cuff, which we never want. We can never train for every incident, but we do almost put them through everything we can think can happen. But that fear is always a good thing. It's just like when I was in the military, we go in a combat zone. You're scared that you're not going to make it out.
Right. Yeah.
But you rely on your training and your leadership to push you through. And and that's the reason why I tell everybody, these young deputies that work for us, all they want is good leadership. And if you give them good leadership, they'll run through a door for you. Or they'll run into a gunfight because they know that my leadership is giving us the best guidance, best tools, best equipment to survive any incident. Now let our training take effect and get us through it. But even when you're the best trained, you still have a tinge of fear because that makes you stay on your toes and don't get too overconfident.
So fear is a good thing.
Yes.
Responding to your fear in a measured way is kind of what you're looking for. Did I get that right?
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay. And slightly different, but kind of related. Race relations, right?
Mhm.
Like we live in this time, racism has not disappeared.
No.
Whether it's out in the community or potentially even within the sheriff's department.
Yes.
And how should the public think about what are we doing to make sure that everyone gets treated equally?
Right. And that's a hard thing to push to some folks in the community. So when I took it as a sheriff, I truly still believe this. I think a sheriff, and in law enforcement for that matter, I think we should all be a reflection of the community in which we serve. I shouldn't have 80% of this and 2% of that and 2% of that. But when I serve a diverse community, I should have a diverse workforce that's serving that community. So we can hopefully meet some of everybody in that community so they don't feel like it's a disproportionate number of this and that. So if we can have a diverse workforce, so I work very hard making our sheriff's office be diverse, not 70% of this one race and 2% of that, and then blah, blah, blah. I want to make us as diverse as possible. But that's not only by race, but by gender as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, in this profession, we do not have a lot of women. So I wanted to make sure I had women in this profession as well so we can close that gap as well. So not only by race, but by gender. We made that a priority. The president had a 30 by 30 initiative about getting more women in law enforcement and get your numbers up. We surpassed that easily. Not only that, we have the most diverse command staff of anyone in the Metro Atlanta area with women, minorities, mixture. And that's by design because I wanted us to have a diverse leadership team, not all men, all white men, black men. It's a mixture of men, women, different colors and races, so we can be a reflection of the whole community.
And does that also then represent or mean that you get a diversity of thought and opinion when
Absolutely.
it comes to making decisions or potentially changing culture or anything like that?
And I think that was one of the main reasons. And I learned that from the military. When you go in the military, there's no color. When I first came, it was all green because that's how we were green. Everybody's green. I didn't look at you, white, black. Everybody's a soldier. Didn't matter what color you were. You had a job to do, and you did that job. In law enforcement, a little different, but they got paramilitary. So we all are here are officers and or deputies. I don't look at a black deputy, a white deputy. I look at you as a deputy, and you're here for a job to keep the citizens of Cobb County safe. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't matter to me what your race is, as long as you're doing that job. But I do know it matters to my community because communities want to see somebody that looks like them.
Right.
And they want to have somebody that can relate to somebody and not somebody. So that is important to me as well. That's why I think that, I feel wholeheartedly that any law enforcement agency should be a reflection of the community they serve. If you got a 90%, one race, and you should have a large population of that race to help those folks and make sure they can relate. But it makes no sense if you don't, and it's going to have some racial, then you can have some racial issues. And that can cause some issues with the apartment and in your community as well.
And how many officers actually live in Cobb County versus not?
You weren't the first person to ask for that, but very few. Cobb is a very expensive county to live in. So I say between 85 and 90% of my deputies do not live in the county. They live in surrounding counties. Yes, because of it is kind of expensive to stay in Cobb, and
you don't set the pay.
No, sir. That's done by the Board of Commissioners.
And so, if we want to increase officer pay,
you have to go to the Board of Commissioners, and then they have to approve too.
All right, Eric Allen. I mean, because it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like, if you can increase the pay,
right,
you can be ostensibly you get a larger pool
that may live inside the county. But what we've done, and I will give our commissioners credit, and let me speak about Madam Chair for a second. Since she's been in office, we both came in office at the same time.
Talking about Lisa Cubitt? Okay.
I always call her Madam Chair.
Oh.
Madam Chair since Madam Chair. Yeah. And since our chair been in office and since I came in office, she and the commissioners, but since she's the boss, has really put public safety as a first here in Cobb County. So since I've been here, they gave us at least 4 increases. So it got us back into the playing field with everyone else in the metro almost. But now, every other month someone's changing price, the rates going up. But we were and have been in the mix of everybody else kind of in that same pay round. But they always been keeping Cobb first. And what also happened Cobb is they create take-home car programs for most of our deputies and for the police departments. So that's giving more. You see our officers.
So like you can just take your car home?
You can take it home.
Instead of having to switch?
Right. And then whether they live in the county or not, as long as within that 25 nautical miles from the square, they still can take their car home. So now we're having more cars on the street, keeping our citizens safe, and they see more police cars. Criminals don't like seeing police cars or deputy cars. If they see too many, they say, I'm going somewhere else because they're over here working, so they go somewhere else. So it's a deterrent as well. So they knew that, and they approved those things for us as well. But they have, Madam Chair has made this a priority. I'm pretty sure as our new commissioner get in, Eric Allen, it's a priority of his as well. So they've always been trying to take care of us. But again, we can always look at boosting salaries to get more folks back into the county, which would make it even more safer.
And what are the biggest issues you think that are facing the sheriff's department that take up your attention or that you want to change?
Oh, that's easy. The jail.
Okay.
That's the biggest issue.
Okay.
And the biggest issue about the jail is our mental health care issues. Unfortunately, all across the United States, just not here in Georgia and Cobb County, our jails has turned into de facto mental health care institutions.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
80, 85, 90% of my personnel that's in that facility have a mental health care issue. They start pill call at 7 o'clock in the morning and don't finish 7, 8 o'clock at night every day. And it's just an issue that I don't know how we can combat it, but I can tell you they shouldn't be in my jail. They need to be in a facility that really can take care of them. So more better than we can. We're not mental health care professionals. We're law enforcement. And we hire in medical company to come in and take it. But most of them are RNs, LNs, and a few doctors. But we have a few psychiatrists, but not for 3,000 inmates. So
we need like more people?
We need more facilities that can handle mental health care personnel versus them being inside local county jails. And I speak for my jail. I tell you, I'll probably lose 50% of my population, or 60%, if they had somewhere else to go to a facility.
So not like Ridgeview is our biggest one, right?
Right. All our mental health care hospitals are gone. We only got, I think, 2 in the state now. It's not many. Most of them is closed. So, and then think about this, Doc. A lot of them, before they can go stand trial, have to be deemed competent to stand trial.
Right.
And the only people who can generate that competency is the state. The state can no way they can handle the amount of people who have to get that test done for the entire state of Georgia. So they gotta do that, and they gotta make sure they can get a review done to see if they can go stand trial. So that's why you see a lot of people sitting in jail because they haven't been, deemed competent to stand trial. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I've seen them in there 5, 6 years. Still have not gotten that service done.
And there's no process to kind of move that forward. They just sit there. They're just
sitting there. They got to wait until they can get that state doctor, or if they farm it out, someone's come in and give them that test and see if they can stand trial. So it's a glitch, but your local sheriff's paying for that glitch because now they're in our jail for years, or waiting for that to go be seen by that doctor. So it causes us issues as well.
And it doesn't seem like there's an easy fix here.
No, I don't think it's an easy fix. It is a nationwide, I hate to use the word epidemic, that needs to be, somebody need to take it bulls by the horn and see how can we fix this. It will take a lot of money, a lot of effort. I know in the future, well, I would like to see here in Cobb, because we know that's a major issue, is at our facility, I would like to create a mental health care ward and a new health ward in general, mental health care and for our regular health care. And because treating someone with mental health care, being in a jail environment is really not conducive. And then you know that.
Oh yeah.
So we would like to build another type facility where even though we got to treat them, but at least it's in more of a facility that's more conducive for that type treatment, but still having them incarcerated, but in a better built facility for that type of treatment and incarceration versus just a regular type jail. So that's something I would like to see for us here in the future in Cobb to build on our property, and then hopefully we can treat them better and get them out. Now, I am very fortunate here in Cobb that we one of the few that has partnered with the state of Georgia RISE program, and that's a program that the state send their mental health professionals into the facility. They work here all day, and we give them like 32 beds, and they see 32 people. Once they get them treated and ready to go to court, they get another 32. So we want like 3 or the 4 that has at the state.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of fortunate. So I'm kind of getting my folks out a lot quicker than some other sheriffs who don't have them in the facility. But it's been working phenomenal for us so far. And if I can increase it, I increase the amount of people. But the kick of it is I share that with other sheriffs too. So if I got 32 beds, I may get 10 and I'm always going to get more than anybody else. So if it's 32, I get either half or just under half, but I'm giving other sheriffs, they get other stuff in so they can get some people seen too.
I deal with mental health all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody dies.
Right.
And I think the doctor part of me, because of the experiences that I've had during my rotations in the hospital, talking to folks, one thing I never want to get lost, and I don't think you would do that, but just let me say it, is we cannot lose sight of our humanity. They're people.
Absolutely.
They don't have the same brain that we do. And I think that's the way. One time I remember a lecture in addiction, because there's a lot of stigma associated with addiction. People view it differently. And this addiction doctor, he just said one thing that really is stuck with me is, they don't have the same brain that you do. And that kind of allowed me this empathy part to open up of being like, okay. So I'm glad to hear you say, like, treat them well. Like I just want to make sure we do treat people well.
I think it's for me, it's critically important. When you ID a problem, then you got to try to figure out how you can fix it. Okay, yeah, we got a mental health problem. So, Sheriff, what you doing? What you doing about it? Just letting the jail get full and you do anything about it? So we created all type of programs inside our facility trying to address some of our mental health care issues by partnering with RISE, by having a 24-hour mental health care person on site, first in the state doing that. So we're trying to find ways to mitigate some of the issues we know this causes us issues inside the facility.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I got a problem, so I'm trying to find a solution to it. So I'm always trying to figure out what else we can do to try to solve that mental health care issue. And it's not an easy thing. It's not a cheap thing. And I know our taxpayers pay for it. But what it does is it hopefully gets us to get someone out of our facility, get them back into society better than how they came in, and then get them some follow-up treatment somewhere else so they continue to be successful once they leave the facility.
Because you don't want them back.
I don't want them back. I don't want a revolving door.
Let's on the topic of health, but it's a little bit different. The stress that officers must feel and the toll that the job takes on not only your physical health, your mental health.
Right.
I want officers to be healthy on the job. How do we address that?
That's a good question. So we've been looking at that as well, some of our overall officers' safety and health. And what we're really determining is sometimes, we work shift work. It's either sometimes 8 hours, 10 hours, or 12 hours. And a lot of times we don't eat right. We don't eat healthy. We eat at fast food. We eat on the go. We may miss a meal. And so now your eating habits are off. So you're not eating a real good meal every day so you can keep yourself healthy. And then your sleeping pattern is off. You may work 12 hours and you come home and get 4 or 5 hours sleep and you go work an extra job because you're trying to make extra money. And then you leave there and you gotta go to your kids' sport event. So you wind up being up 16 hours a day and you come back to work. So it's really taxing on their body, but not only physically, but mentally as well. So what we try to do for us is we hired a physical fitness coordinator now for the sheriff's office to try to work with our deputies to make sure they're keeping them physically fit and she teach them nutrition, what they should be eating. She make up dietitian plans for them. She weigh them, check the body mass index. She do all that, and then put them up on a plan to make sure to try to stay healthy. But the physical aspect is just one thing. But then we had to really get to the mental, which is also another issue for us as well. So we hired our own outside psychiatrist who's available to come in to talk to our deputies whenever they have any issues, to make sure we're giving them that mental support that they need. Inside our facility, because they work 12 hours a day inside the jail, we created, I call it a stress relaxation room. So if they feel like they're getting stressed on the floor or anything, they can come off the floor, go in that room. They got big recliners with all these massages in it, aromatic fragrances, water dripping. They're trying to, it's just stuff, the soothing relaxation room. And that's been real good for that. We even put for our women, the
breast pumping room?
yes.
Okay. Lactation room?
Lactation room in there as well. I couldn't think of have that in there now. So we create a whole room for that. And then we're also looking at other ways we can help them on it mentally and physical. So we got our own psychiatrist. We got
do we have therapists?
We have therapists as well, psychiatrists, therapists. We have peer support groups as well.
How many participate?
Believe it or not, we do have quite a few. I think we're averaging being seen a month about between 15 and 20, which is a decent sized number for agency, just under 900. And it's not only for my sworn, but our civilians go as well, because we have a lot of civilians that work for us in the facility. So it's open for both. So it's been going very well in that aspect of it.
Because I can only empathize in the sense of what I went through during COVID, what I continue to go through from that experience. And certainly I'll never say ignore the physical health part ever. But I think proactively, people don't know what they need to do in terms of to be healthy mentally, and they don't get it out. And I'm sure that it takes a toll on their family, on their marriages. And I would love to see a police, the sheriff's department, and the deputies. It's going to be hard to get them to talk to people. I know that.
It is. We got that manly attitude, and some of them feel a little, put out there by showing that weakness that they're going to talk to a therapist. But I think now, believe it or not, the younger generation are getting out of that. They're not having that stigma like folks have been in for a long time, I mean, like 30 plus years. We used to take that as a sign of being weak. You're going to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a sign of being a real man or woman, because now you're going to try to get help to fix your issues. But the younger generation we're hiring now don't have that issues. They're I need to go see somebody. So they're real quick to say that versus some of the other times.
That is really encouraging to hear, because I can't imagine the emotional violence that it is to be a police officer.
Let me tell you a quick story. This is tell you, when you just made mention about emotional violence. So this is a day, and I'll go back to my police part. This is a day of an officer. He comes in, and this is our commander at precinct 2. He gets in at 2:00.
2 a.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Okay.
At 2:30, shift meeting starts. 3:00, he goes to the road. His first call of the day, he has accident injuries on Offstead Road, vehicle overturned, Offstead at Callaway. He runs the code. It's a code 1 call because accident injuries. He gets there, 2 people dead in the accident. This is at 3:15. He ain't been to work an hour yet. He gets there. He leaves that scene around 4:30, 5:00, because it's a death. It takes a long time. He clears that. He's going about 5:30, 6:00. He clears that call. His very next call is a suicide attempt. He runs code because it's a suicide. It actually is not an attempt. It is a suicide. The person killed themselves at home, hung themselves. Okay. That's 3 people he didn't see deceased today. But it's not over. It's just 6:00. He didn't have lunch yet. He gets from that call. Once the detectives get there and clear from the call, he misses lunch because his next call is a shooting call. He goes next call. He goes to shooting, and he got 3 people shot. This is what goes on day after day after day. And not so much in sequence like that for one guy, but this is what one guy saw. 3 people killed in one day. It's just one day in an 8-hour shift. And 3 people killed and 3 people shot. You imagine the amount of carnage he saw that day. You imagine the amount of stress his mind and body is. And then he didn't get a chance to eat. They eat lunch. And he's going from call to call to call. The calls in the precincts, the calls don't stop. 911 calls keep
And
coming.
you never know when you meet
And
that officer, whenever you're
Yeah,
meeting
and you
them, you don't know what's gone on
you
in
don't
their
know what
day.
just happened before there, and you know what happened after. It's just, it's just a crazy cycle. And so that's why I try to give those guys who are working on this road a little bit of grace, because I don't know what they just left when they got to the next call. Some of them can be still a little uptight about it, or they could be got in a car pursuit. When you get in there, you're drilling, rowing. Somebody pulled a gun on you. You know, you're just all type of things going through these guys and girls' mind. So you got to really give them a little grace. Say, calm down, tell them what's happening, and try to help bring them down, because they're stressing as well.
Yeah,
and that's why
I think that I didn't really put that. Now that you say that, it makes perfect sense. But when I'm dealing with them, you know, you only have that one interaction. You don't have all that knowledge, and
Right.
it's not that one person's right, one person's wrong. It's just a really tough job.
Yeah, it is. And I commend anyone who gets in this profession, just like being a doctor, because I know you get a lot of stressors, and from the family and then from your patient. And it's us in a little bit different. We're there to save lives too, but only, because of what's happening. We're pulling people out of burning cars.
Yeah.
We're getting people out of homes that are being shot at, or when they try to hurt themselves, and we'll get them cut down from trying to hang themselves, things of that nature. So we're doing things on that aspect too, not so much an aspect as a doctor, but we're trying to save lives too. And you're going to a very bad domestic situation, a lot of violence, stuff like that. So these guys and girls do a lot of stuff out there. A lot of people don't understand, and sometimes it takes a good leader to make sure you talk them back down and get them back where they should be before they go to that next call.
I wanted, while you're saying that, actually, part of the training that I have is doing debriefs, and I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was here, and there was a 14-year-old that died after a hit and run, and it really made it. I remember having to sit there and talk to his mom and asking her if she still wanted us to code him for the 6th time. And
can't imagine.
I remember that because I still hear her screaming, but I could also look at how much it affected everyone in that ICU.
Yeah.
And we called a debrief where the police came, the paramedics came, the firemen came. When we got in the room, I remember it was in the hospital, and I opened it up and I let just people talk. And I don't know how much of a difference it made for everybody else, but I know it gave me some sense of closure or peace, because I knew that I wasn't the only one hurting. And I think maybe there's something there in terms of partnership, because we want to see, just you describing that, I can't imagine what that is like.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, I want to help that person. So maybe there's something there to explore.
Yeah, I think it can be. I think, and I give another example, and we changed subject, of course, but when I lost 2 deputies several years ago, and they was transported to the hospital at Kinston, the ER staff, doctors came out, the nurses, and they worked, in trying to save him. And the responses that we had back and forth with them while they're trying to save my deputy's life, and it hurt them as much as it hurt us that they couldn't save him. They work tirelessly trying to do everything they can. And then I can see the look on their face when they come out, and the doctors and the nurses, and they're teared up. And it's just like us, we standing there teared up. And so we all were working together on that. And it was just, to me, to see the response that they had and how they fought to try to save our deputy, and how we was praying that they can save him, and they doing everything they could. And we had a little conversation. The doctor almost just kind of what you described. Doctor said, "Hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We were trying," and we did everything, and we just, couldn't save him. But to hear him say that, and the nurses there and their reaction to what was going on, and it really, to me, brought us together as a big community. Just to talk it out about what happened. Well, he asked some questions about what happened to this, that, and it was just like getting that out. Well, I want to say is was a sense of relief, but it just kind of felt good explaining what that to him. And the interaction we had, the doctors and the nurses there. So I do understand that and been through that a couple of times, unfortunately, with some of my deputies, but that can make a difference for you. It did make a difference for me as well.
Before I let you go, because you're a busy guy, one question I like to ask everyone when I meet them in the hospital is, what brings meaning in their life? What brings meaning in your life?
What brings meaning to me right now? A couple of different things, honestly. I have 6 grandkids, and I love them jokers to death. And I'm embarrassed myself to say I can't swim. Right? So I'm not a swimmer. I can't swim. I don't mind saying I can't swim, but I'm not scared of the water. I'll get in. I think I can get out because I got drowned. I mean, drown. They call it drowned from the military. I can get out, but I'm just not a real swimmer. And I brought that because I got a pool, and it's for my grandkids. It's not for me because I'm not getting that thing. It's just for them. And what brings me meaning is that I can see the future in them, and that I can hopefully set their future to be success by giving them some things I didn't have. I'm preparing them for the future, investing for them. So hopefully they don't have to struggle. They can live a good life, get education, come out here and do good by the citizens, wherever they decide to live, and living through them, and then taking care. My mom still lives. I love my mom to death. The most important woman in my life, other than my wife, my mom. I go see my mom every Sunday. That's a ritual. I go spend at least 2 hours every Sunday. I don't care what I'm doing. If I got to go to Falcon game, the game gonna come see my mom. So that's just a ritual I do. Just really, to me, it's about family right now.
Right.
I'm getting at a nice young age, and I want to make sure I mature correctly and take care of my family to set them up for success as I transition to something else. I've been in the military. You're taught that you have to have a shelf life. And what that means is that I'm not going to stay anywhere too long, because you kind of wear out your welcome. I didn't run for sheriff to be here 30 plus years, because sometimes you lose your effectiveness. And then versus having good word meaning coming out, it just wah, 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 because you're saying the same thing and there's not no action. And so that's why in the military, after 3 or 4 years, you move, because now your message never gets stale. And so I equate that to law enforcement. I don't ever want to become stale in this job where the message I'm putting out does not have any meaning. So I know, I got my gauge, my mind frame, how long I want to do this, because I don't want to be stale. And I think that's a discourtesy to the citizens of Cobb County. So I want to make sure I stay fresh, I stay alert, keep things going in the right direction, and making sure I'm leaving this county in a better way than where it was when I found it. And I think we're in the right direction. I honestly tell you this, anybody, that we got one of the best sheriff's offices in the state of Georgia, bar none. We have some phenomenal men and women that works here, civilians and sworn, have some great commissioners. We got some of the best residents, I like to say, in Cobb County. Our Cobb Countyans, I like to call them, are great people. They are very proud of their law enforcement, and I'm so happy that I'm part of that family. And we just try to do what's right for this county. I tell everybody, I'm the sheriff of all, not for one. So I'm everybody's sheriff. I'm not just one. I'm everybody. You can say what you want. You can say you this or that, but I'm your sheriff. You can't deny it. I am. And I do that. I treat everybody that same way. And that what makes me happy. But really, them grandbabies is what I got left to take care of them. Yeah. And of course, my 2 favorite women, my wife and mom. And then my own kids, of course. But that's kind of what I throw them in there as well. I kind of kicked them off and took to the grandkids.
Thank you for coming on. I sincerely appreciate it. And, I'll tell you that I want to personally thank you. I want to personally thank every officer in Cobb County for putting their life on the line for us. And there's no other way to say it. And that's tremendous amount of sacrifice for some people, for anybody rather.
Right.
And thank you for protecting us. Thank you for caring enough to see that there are things that need to be changed and actively working on it. And I just have a lot of hope for our county because we have people like you in charge.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. And I think, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is one of the best counties in the state of Georgia. We got some great people like Doc here. He's leading a lot of efforts to make sure that this stays one of the best counties. So I like to say thank you for what you do and what you do for the people of Cobb County. They may not realize it, but you really work behind the scenes to get things done. And sometimes that's the best way to get it done, behind the scenes versus out front, because sometimes you get more done behind the scenes. And people don't realize all the great work you do in this community. So let me just tell you this from my personal.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Doc, for what you do for this community and keeping us going in the right direction to make sure Cobb County is always diverse and fair in our actions, and hold us accountable. That way we can make sure we continue to provide the best service. So thank you.
Appreciate you.